Hello, my name is Chris Ekpekurede. I'm an engineer and a writer and an elder of the Church of Christ. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I have a question to ask. If democracy doesn't serve the people, exactly what use is it to the people? What national development or improved life, for example, has democracy brought to Nigerians since we started this journey back in 1999? In fact, it would seem to me that we have had our best national development, the establishment of edifices and infrastructures across the nation under our military regimes. Under our military regimes, it will seem to me that the dividends of democracy in Africa, summarized, is simply the escalation of corruption and poverty across the continent. Now, to be clear, military regimes have had their own romance with corruption, but it is nothing compared to the gargantuan and broad daylight thievery and impunity that our civilian leaders have been associated with. Leaders who mischievously call themselves honorables, excellencies, and democrats. You see, our military leaders stole in millions, but guess what? Our civilian leaders steal in billions. Now, there is a video that has been trending in Nigeria in the last few days. That video defines the perspective of our civilian leaders as to what amounts to stealing. I want you to watch that video.
In order to enable all of us to enjoy our holidays, a token has been sent to our various accounts by the clerk of the National Assembly. I withdraw that statement. In order to allow you to enjoy your holiday, the Senate President has sent prayers to your mailboxes. To assist you to go on a safe journey and return.
Did you hear him? Did you hear Akpabio? He calls the disbursement, the distribution of millions of naira as the distribution of a token. A token. He calls it a token for going on a legislative recess. These guys must collect millions that they call tokens so they can enjoy their recess. That gives you an idea of what these people consider corruption as, especially in Nigeria. Now, Gowon was famously quoted as saying during his time that Nigeria was so rich, Nigeria had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. Now, at the time, we thought that was a foolish statement indeed to make. But listen to what our modern day money baggers would say about how they handle our money. In the wake of the discussions to remove the fuel subsidy, one of our leaders was quoted as saying that the subsidy should in fact be removed because he is tired of eating free money. At least Gowon and other military leaders bequeathed infrastructures that still stand today. Gowon prosecuted a civil war and united the nation. In fact, his name, Gowon, became an acronym for Go On with One Nigeria. Now, imagine for a moment that the Nigerian Civil War was fought under a civilian government like the one we currently have, or like the one you currently have, because my hand not there inside. How would they have managed that war? Where would Nigeria be at the end of that war? I ask, what national legacies has democracy left us beside a wanton spirit of graft and corruption? Today, the average Nigerian runs with corruption as if his or her entire destiny depends on it. The spirit of corruption is embedded shamelessly in what we have called workshop. That where person they work, now there they shop. Hardly does the average Nigerian do anything without looking for a way to steal some money. This is where democracy has brought us. Now, the bedrock of democracy is elections. But in Africa, an election is an organized crime to seize power, a crime that impoverishes the people. In Nigeria, every subsequent election only makes things worse. Just when you think you have seen the worst of a democratic government, another one shows up that deepens the misery of the people. Useless governments that are recognized by the Western powers instead of condemning them. Now, we've seen what is happening. The latest was in Niger. In several African countries, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, and now Niger, the people are joyfully embracing military governments because they perceive military governments as cheaper on corruption. They perceive military governments as more promising on hope. And you know what? They have taken it a step further by setting up a NATO-type alliance. An attack on one is an attack on all. Who knows? This alliance might even upstage ECOWAS. ECOWAS may be on its way to extinction. Can ECOWAS nations, with their sick democracies, stand the current wind of change? You see, when democracy fails, Africa's alternative is military rule. The Western powers should stop condemning coups in Africa because they are complicit in the useless democratic processes that pervade the continent. They should condemn bad elections, not hail them as our own type of democracy. Now, Mohamed Bazoum, the ousted leader of Niger, failed to resolve the large-scale insecurity that had been ravaging the country. Insecurities spearheaded by affiliates of Al-Qaeda, ISWAP, and Boko Haram. And this failure in tackling insecurity in Niger had been worsened by poor economic growth of that nation. In fact, Niger is ranked as one of the poorest nations of the world. Bazoum and his predecessor foisted their ruling political party, the PNDS, on the people mercilessly. Are these issues, the oppressiveness of particular political parties, pervasive insecurity, are they not similar to what we are experiencing in Nigeria today? Do we need a soothsayer to predict where our own nation is headed? Look, let's bring this in home. Niger's population is 25 million. Now, if what has happened in Niger happens in Nigeria with its population of 220 million people, the consequences will be far more devastating for the entire world. Let's face it, democracy has failed in Nigeria. It is in fact progressing very fast downhill. We had better watch it, because the African alternative may just be staring us in the face. Unless in the days to come, the judiciary rises to the occasion and throws out this contraption we call a Tinubu government. The unfolding events in the Sahel region of Africa call on Nigeria to show a good example by rejecting a bad election. Listen, no good can come out of a bad election. No good. Don't be deceived. The decision of the judiciary in the days to come will be an indication of how far gone or not Nigeria is, and whether in fact the nation is still redeemable. Well, that's all I have to say on what has been happening on the continent. Please feel free to share this. See you next time.